So let's play the drum without the effect. Let's put on. I've been making and releasing music since 2007, using a lot of programs. I started with SoundForge, then Goldwave, then Fruity Loops, Reason, and then lately Ableton Live became my weapon of choice for the last 14 years. So I know how to make music, mix, mastering, performing live, and also sound design. Although sound design, I use also Pro Tools, but that's another story. So if I go back in time to 14 years ago, I would have thought myself those tips that I'm about to show you, which in my opinion are the essential knowledge that every music producer should know in both Ableton Live and also as a music producer in general. So let's have a look. Okay, so the first tip is to place on the master OTT, multiband down compressor, and Abbey Road master. So I'm gonna explain you now. So now let's play this track. Let's play where there's a bit of melody. Okay. So now the OTT and the Abbey Road, it's off. I'm just gonna put it on and off to see the difference. So this is a personal chain, which is in current developing. I started with placing an OTT in the master and then found out that the Abbey Road vinyl together was giving it a nice feeling next to it. Parallel compression on the return, stereo, mono, and drums. So parallel compression, it's a game changer when it comes to giving dynamic to your sound and to your drums. Let me give you an example. So this is a track I was making the other day. Now I have already set up my 3 parallel compression. I will explain you shortly how to do it. I'm just gonna put them on and you see the difference in the dynamic of the track. I'm not gonna stay here explaining you precisely what parallel compression is doing, but in a nutshell, you mix the dry signal and the super compressed signal together in order to make a unique blend. I've made a tutorial here where you can see I explain in details about parallel compression and how to download one of the parallel compression preset. So essentially I have 3 parallel compression, mono for kick and bass line, stereo for guitar and pads, and 1 for drums, which is dedicated entirely to drums. How to mix your track for mixdown, how to start the mixing. What I usually do when I want to make a final mix of my track, I usually start with the kick drum as my main sound reference. But this is also because I do electronic dance music, such as techno, house, electro, and so on. So the kick drum is the main element that carries the rhythm in dance music, electronic dance music. So the end of the story is that you should find a percussive element in your mix and find that as a reference point, and then mix all the sound around that one by one. So let's start with my track here. So that is the main reference point, is the drum. So let's put mono 12. So I will raise the drum. Then again, you need to trust your ears as well. You can't just look at the metronome all the time. Then you got the shaker. Then you need to make the shaker sitting in your mix. It's there, but it's not there. It has to be sitting that you can feel subconsciously there is a shaker there. Then this next drum. Then this other drum here. Then you can pan them left and right. Then we have the main pad. Okay, so let's just raise the main pad. Yeah, minus 44.3 sounds good. Then we have the art bus. Okay, so this is my first attempt to make a final mix down. Obviously, there is much more things that you need to pay attention, but the main skeleton technique is to always start with the percussive element, because the percussive element, in base of your kind music that you're doing, will be the driving sound, the driving part, the core of the song. Doubler effect for drum. So when I say doubler, what I mean, it's the combination of two VST from Sound Toys. One is the Devil Lock Audio Level Destroyer, which is a sort of distortion saturator plugin. And the other one is the Microshift, which a lot of people use for the voice. So when you put these two plugins together, so let's play the drum without the effect. Let's put on. So as you can see, it's squashing a little bit the drums, making them a little bit more saturated, a bit more metallic, and at the same time, it's giving this stereo spreading. So let's play on another project. Okay, so this is the next track. So I'm gonna play the drums without the effect on, with the whole song context. And let's hear our two plugins. Now it's off. So you see it's opening up the stereo width, making it much more crystalline, wet, and kind of brighter and stronger. So there is a really big difference. Tuning the kick drum, the snare, and all the other percussion to your main song key. So tuning the drum to the main key of your song, it's something that benefits a lot. I found out that the pleasant feeling of harmonics entering and marrying each other gives a really good feeling overall. So let's see how I do usually. Setting up the fact that the song is on A minor, because I have here a pad which is on A minor. Okay. So I have here my track. So the first thing that I'm gonna check is the kick drum, which you have to modify the pitch in order to find the right kick. So with the tuner of the kick drum, you can always find and reach the A minor segment here. So you just have here the control, transpose, and the tune are the two main things that you're gonna use. So you're gonna go up. Now let's go down. Not yet, so let's go up again. So it's around A. Let's maybe tune it a little bit lower. And you see that it's becoming green. Now it's in green, which means the kick drum is on A. So that was pretty easy. For the snare and for the percussion, it's slightly more complicated, but not that much. So let's try with the snare. Okay, so for the snare, I have this little chain which I created, which consists on a spectrum analyzer and the frequency shifter. So why I need a spectrum analyzer and frequency shifter? Because the spectrum analyzer is going to tell me the fundamental frequency of the sound. So the fundamental frequency of this sound, the snare, is in here, is the peak. The peak, when I go to the mouse here, you can see that it's telling me that the note, the fundamental frequency note, it's F. So we are in F. And we need to go to A minor here. So what I do, I scroll with the mouse on the spectrum until I see the A1 here. So, sorry, my snare, the fundamental frequency of the snare should shift to A1, which is on 112 Hertz. You can also point your finger for reference sometime on the screen, that's what I usually. And basically with these settings here on the frequency shifter, you move the frequency, and just by moving the frequency, I can see that the snare fundamental frequency has moved here to G1. Perhaps it's too much, so let's go back to where it was before. Okay, so maybe I can use and modify the parameter of fine. And I can see that slowly, it's shifting towards this area, which is not yet. Now it's too much. Okay. Now the peak is towards A1. So now we are in A1. The fundamental frequency of the snare is in A1, which means it's in syntony with the kick and with the snare. So this is how I tune my kick drum and my percussive sounds. By the way, I've made a tutorial which you can watch here. In this tutorial, I'm talking extensively how to do this job. Ableton Live LFO. So LFO, for me, it's the best Ableton device, the number one. I use it more than anything else. LFO, what is? It's an effect that makes the sound alive. I've got two instances of the same synthesizer. One has a lot of LFO, as you can tell here, and you can see that everything is moving. And the other one, it doesn't have anything. So let's play the first one. So it's a simple sine wave. Now let's play the one with all these LFO that are moving, frequencies, response, panning, detuning, LFO, and vibration. So let's see. This is essentially the same sound, but it's because there is many parameters that are constantly moving with each other. It's making the sound really much alive. Also, another cool thing that you can do with the LFO, you can make parameters of effects moving. In my case, I have this echo plugin, and I've decided to move the equalizer of the echo so that the frequency that will be affected will also be equalized with the filter moving on. So let's play an example. As I'm pressing the clap, you can hear that the delay affected signal is also moving with the frequency spectrum of the equalizer, and is doing this very beautiful after effect. So with the LFO, I also curated this bit repeater, which I've made a tutorial in depth on my channel on how to make it. So by here you can see. So I have an audio loop without the bit repeater, sounds like this. Okay, quite captivating. And then with the bit repeater on, so I assign the parameter of the internal equalizer of the bit repeater so that it's like the echo effect before, is doing the same things. And also it's changing the offset and the grid and the pitch so that the repetition comes very randomly and is always there is always a variation every time it gets triggered. Always clean the unwanted frequencies in the mix. So for this example, I use Suit 2, which I made a tutorial about it, obviously, last year. And this plugin, really amazing plugin. I'm not going into details, but has improved my mixing by far because it removes the resonant frequencies using AI analysis and understand where to lower those nasty frequencies are sitting in the mix. For example, so let's play my drums without Suit, and I'm just gonna switch on, and I'm just gonna on and off for a while. Let's remove the kick drum and do the same job. So you notice that there is a lower intensity on the hi-hat and then the clap. That's because now the plugin understands that some of the fundamental frequencies that are sitting here on the 12K and 7K are a little bit too much, so he decided to just take them off. And also on the clap as well, a little bit. So the mix, in this case, will sound much more clean, because when you have a lot of fundamental frequencies together, your mix will sound muddy, will sound like busy and unpleasant. Saving your own preset. So when you make music on Ableton Live, and let's say you have a synthesizer with a couple of effects and 2 MIDI effects as well, and you want to save this particular combination so that it will be easy to take. So you can do like this by selecting the first and then the last one, holding Shift on a Mac, then you group. And once you got the group, everything is together, you have to go here, and this is saving the name of this particular combination of sound and effect. And you can call it favorite sound one. There we go. And also, a really good thing that you can do is to collect them into color tags, which is something that I always do. And by doing this, you are going to create a list of sound that are the division of what you are in sound, because you will have an inclination to certain sound, to certain taste, to certain effect. Then when you save and you always customize those kind of sounds, you will be having a collection that is ready to come, and that will help to create your sound signature. Autofilter and autopan makes your track alive. A little bit like the LFO for Max for Live that I showed you before, the autopan and the autofilter are the two of the filter that makes the sound dancing, moving. So autofilter will gradually lower, opposite the high and the low of the frequency spectrum, while the autopan will gradually move to the left and the right, the pan of the signal. So let's play now our synthesizer without any of this. Okay, so with the autofilter on, now let's start with autofilter. Setting the amount to 21, you can see, well, you can hear, if I put the rate, that it's oscillating more and more. So if you have a very slow movement, you will have the sound opening and closing. And you can do the same with the lower frequencies. So let's put the rate up. Can you feel it's cutting off the bass frequencies? So if I put a very slow 9%, so we're having the cutting of the lows and the cutting of the highs. And that just by itself, it's a really nice addition. Then we have the autopan. So the autopan, it's auto panning on the left and the right signal of my stereo channel, or even mono. So let's play now. Let's open the autopan with all the settings reset. As I'm opening the amount, can you hear, if you're wearing the headphones right now, or you are at home with the studio, you will hear that the signal is going through left and right quite slowly. As I'm moving the rate, you will feel a tangled sound in your ear, jumping from left to right. So autopan, it's also doing this kind of job. It's moving left and right, and that's also very interesting. You don't want to have too much amount, you want to just have a subtle one. So this plus the autofilter altogether really gives a very nice feeling of movement of the synthesizer. So those are my 9 tips for better music production in Ableton. If you like this video, please like, subscribe and comment. By doing this, you will help to grow my channel and to be able to make more videos for you. Also, if you join my Patreon, you will get all those 9 Ableton project templates, plus more Ableton templates of previous tutorials, my music for free, sample packs, and more stuff that I'm adding to my Patreon on a weekly basis. Thanks for watching and see you at the next one.